Hello, my name's Andy Jordan. Welcome to the Stratosphere Chamber Workshop. You might have seen our little video from the other day called Visby's Rockets. Because that was quite a success, we've been commissioned now to do even more work for the education team. And myself and John Rowland here are currently working on what has been christened the baby Concorde. So it's a mere 12.5 or 3 3/4 metres long.
122?
122nd, I think, John, wasn't it?
Yeah,
or ish, yeah. The deciding factor was the tube that the aluminium sections came in for the rocket launcher gave us the diameter of the fuselage. So that's an easy way to make a fuselage, is get a cardboard tube and saw the ends off and paint it, which is what we've done. We've glued on the wing roots here. We've drawn these up yesterday, John and myself, and that is what we think we're working from for our wings. But we're playing it by ear. So, John.
Well, indeed. So basically we wanted to try and get this as accurate in a scale point of view. It's going to have to be a bit of a representation because we can't machine stuff to be perfectly round and that kind of thing, which is why, for example, this is the tail piece for the Concorde. So it's been constructed so it can attach to the end of the fuselage, and it will then fit on the end with some attachments that we have. And that will form, yes indeed, over there we have the relevant attachments.
So this bit gets glued into the tube, this gets glued onto there, and basically you can detach it with dowels.
And then the final end piece, and given this is the tail, is this little cone which I turned up on my lathe that I acquired from my father a few years ago. But so that will now fit on the end. I'm still having to do the front end, so there's a cockpit section which looks really quite sexy, and I'm doing the cone for it. It's not unfortunately with us today because it's at my house where I'm doing the extra bits of work on it. But in terms of getting the scale right, as I say, we're trying to make it look at least reasonable. We've been working from a drawing which is extremely small, shall we say, which is in this book here, which basically the Concorde Owner's Manual, which came to us thanks to our colleague David over there. But we've been using this as our scale to try and get things as close as possible to be in the appropriate ratios, shall we say. We're not going to put any wheels on it, but we will have it'll sort of rest on the air intakes and so on for the engines, more or less. So you can see a load of little lines on here, but these are for allow us to do the measurements. And this drawing to our size is 1 to 33. So we have to multiply all our measurements here by 33. So 1 millimetre does make quite a lot of difference. So we have to be quite precise. But anyway, so that's how we've managed to do all the scaling on the job.
And then, of course, there's no sheets of graph paper big enough. So what we then have to do is take as John said, multiply by 33 to get the size of our actual model, and then divide by 4 to fit it on the paper. So when we actually build it, any part we measure, we have to multiply by 4, obviously, to get the right size.
And similarly, this is something I worked on, in fact it was yesterday I did this, is my representation of the tail for the Concorde. So basically the fuselage is here and this is the tail, and this is a nice curve in places, but I'm having to do it with straight pieces because curves will be a bit more tricky in the timescales we've got.
So we think it's going to look a bit more like TU-144 than Concorde?
In some areas, yes. But then this is a quarter scale. I've then been converting that onto this piece of board. So this basically is the outline which you can see over there with all the lines. So that's the outline which I haven't quite finished here of the tail. And these are the positions for the extra pieces that will basically make the frame. These are the center points basically for these pieces. So for example, that will be fitting there when it's been cut and shaped on the ends. And we'll have 2 of those, which will then be mounted as a triangle to give it some rigidity, and that will be on here. So we'll be making that into there, and that will actually give it some degree of rigidity. It's one of those words. And that will then fit onto the model we have over there in terms of the fuselage.
On dowels again?
Well, we'll have to work that
Possibly.
out. We might screw that together. because my understanding is originally that they wanted it to be taken apart, but the indications now are that we might make it as a permanently constructed model, so the dowels basically will become glued in place rather than being movable, and which is why we can put screws and things through certain parts, and that makes life easy and makes it rigid, and it will be in one piece as it gets hung from an appropriate position.
Which is, I think, either going to be the CAF or the activity rooms.
Yeah, I think that's what was being said, yes.
So, as usual with the education team, we've been given a deadline, which we were told about 2 weeks ago, of February the 8th, which is the week after next. So, John and I have been burning the midnight oil, either in here or at home, with the aim to not let them down. So, we're tight on time, and if you'd like to pop back and see us next week, we can show you how far we've progressed, hopefully, with the entire project, which I'm hoping, and John is hoping, will be a lot further.
Okay, hello again. You catch me at a time when I'm cutting up pieces of wood that will ultimately form the nacelles where the engines are mounted underneath the wings. The wings are what Andy's currently doing, the second one. I think he's working on the starboard wing, I think.
Starboard at the moment,
yes.
Yeah. The port wing is there, ready just for a good tickle with a sander. So that is now complete. And here is the mirror image starboard wing that been making fairly good progress on. So this is 1.5 days of progress here. Yeah. So we're getting there. I think we're going to hit the deadline, aren't we, John? Ish?
Oh, I'm sure we'll manage it in the end, yes. But, having found certain issues with having drawn up a picture for these nacelles, this is my current working drawing. I discovered, having gone onto the interweb and looked up drawings for Concorde, I discovered today when I came in that the drawing I had copied clearly was not the same as the one that we've got outside. There were different elements on it, so I had to adjust it according to my eye and various other things based upon what I could see outside. The original one, in the prototypes, they didn't have reverse thrusters, for example, so they used to have basically jet nozzles that stuck outside the back end of the wing, and it would have been at the far end here, this being the front of the air intake, and the engine sits in here, and originally the nozzles stuck out the back. But that area there no longer exists or is not exposed anymore. In fact, I don't think they have a jet nozzle per se. Then they have the reverse thruster devices who are landing like David over there. So having gone that, I then discovered that some of the angles had changed, that there's a slight sort of tapering they have on the wing, so it fits on the wing, doesn't get too close to the edge. And on the ones on our Concorde, there's very small amount of taper, whereas there's quite a significant taper on the original. Indeed, the whole front end angles of which this is the air intake with the ramps and the air box inside, those ramps angles have changed quite a lot. And indeed, they are also straight on the front edge rather than curved, or rather at an angle on the originals. So that was obviously one of the differences that came between the 001 and 003, the prototypes we had in the UK, and ours, which is the first production model. Ours first production model is slightly different from the full production models, although I don't think anyone will really notice it, apart from if you try to lift it, because it's quite a bit heavier, because it has thicker skin, aluminium skin on our version, compared with the full production 20 or whatever it was they built in the full production side. So anyway, I'm now cutting up all the pieces for this. I've got to work out where to put some stays inside. The whole thing will be a block of wood with things like this attached and pinned to the wood. So this will be the side of the box, sorry, the underneath of the box, and there's some smaller bits that come up here that will form the sides. And then we have to work out how to pin it to the wing. So it should be enough materials in place with all the bits that Andy's been putting in here to be able to attach something or other.
Find a home.
Find a home for it, and then hopefully we can do that fairly quickly, Friday morning probably.
And here's the tale that all the time I accused under my breath of John of skiving for not being here when I was. he's produced this tail at home.
Yes.
Now, John has the luxury of a very nice workshop.
Yes, the advantage of being able to do little angles like this using a rotor, effectively a sanding disc, which is on a sanding machine, is so much easier because you can just line it up with the angles set on a little sort of rotating device, and then you just push it against the wheel and the angles are made automatically, rather than trying to edge them out with a bit of sandpaper. So I changed the whole concept twice as I went through, but
I think that's happened with a lot of the job, hasn't it?
But this now will attach to the end of the fuselage there, and will disappear over the edge, and there's an extra piece of reinforcement put on there, and this will fit approximately there, I believe. So this will then
Except
attach
it's back
to that.
to front, John.
Sorry?
Except it's back to front.
What's back to front?
The tail.
No, it's
So
not.
the nose cone, the tail cone.
Not back to front. Oh, I see. You mean that back to front? Yes, that back to front.
I'm starting to worry.
Yeah. So anyway, that will then attach on there, and there's some screw holes ready to go, which means I've got to put some extra ties in there just to make sure it screws together properly. And again, that should be Friday morning assembling all the final bits. And hopefully we can hand it over then on Friday, ready for next week, which is, I think, probably on Monday they'll be starting to cover it with stuff or whatever they're doing in the Vickers Suite or wherever it is.
Vickers Suite, I think, until the car parts people take over Vickers Suite for one day, and then they're going to emigrate to the top of the Strat and then back into the Vickers Suite.
Well, hopefully this is strong enough that it won't fall apart.
So it should be a family, so if you work on it together, all right, you get to do most of it, I think, but you both get to sign it, because I've already got your one, haven't I? Yeah? So I'll give you, so you can do like a happy birthday greeting, or you could just do a picture or whatever. Up to you, make sure you get your names on it, okay?
They're not the 60th balloons.
Oh, look at that. Fantastic. Well done. What are you looking forward to today?
Yeah, the same.
Yeah, excellent. Just really having a look at what you're writing. That looks good. Happy birthday, Concorde. Because that looks great. And that's actually going to be fitted to baby Concorde. So it won't be the same without getting you in. Sorry, do you need to sign a consent form?
I don't need to sign a consent form.
you've got red and blue pens. Only red and blue, because that's the British Airways pens. So you're going to do us a lovely family picture or a family message on here to celebrate Delta Golf, our Concorde's 50th birthday. On Tuesday this week, it was her 50th anniversary of her birthday. So
I switch colours.
which means that
It's 50th. Use this one, it's good.
Going to be then? Going to write Concorde on the side. That's it. Brilliant. Right. Should we hold it up?
No, because I need to do the outline.
That's all right. Just hold it up. Look at that. There you go. Smile.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Stratosphere Chamber team and the Concorde parts. It's now the 27th of March, just over a month since we basically finished constructing the items you can see in front of us and having the Concorde Day when a load of children and families filled in all these lovely pieces of cloth which have been now stuck in place by Annette, the wonderful Annette, who organised all this, who will be with us shortly. And we're now in the position where we're just carefully making sure that the parts will go together and cutting any bits that overlap, such that we can then assemble the thing. This being the fuselage in front of me here, and we've got the nose with its little pitot tube, and the back end, which has been signed not only by Andy Jordan and myself, but the front has been signed by Prince Michael of Kent, along with someone else. I'm not quite sure who the other person is. But anyway, there was some dignitary. It might have been the mayor or something of Elmbridge or something like that.
And Mike Bannister.
Ah, of course. Can't
Mike
forget
Bannister.
Mike
Captain
Bannister.
Mike.
Yes, Chief Captain. So we have wings here. We have a tail. And when Andy's finished doing all the pairing away...
The last one, which I shall be 1 minute.
And as long as it doesn't go blood red as a result of what he's doing, that's fine.
Trying to retain all my fingers.
There
then we go.
Assemble all the parts together, we'll do a quick dry run, and then we will glue it so it'll never come apart again.
We hope.
We hope, yes indeed.
So we're just going to... We knew they fitted before, so we're just going to dry fit these parts together before we glue them, and then we'll take them all apart again and glue them up. And as John said, hopefully it will never come apart again.
Until it falls off the wall in the cafe.
Until it falls off the ceiling, yeah.
Right, so that...
One nose there.
And the final tail.
So how many, you reckoned we put about 200 hours in, between us into the frame on this, didn't we, John, the skeleton?
Certainly about that.
And Annette's burned the midnight oil putting the cloth on. It took a lot longer than she anticipated, I'm sure. And so today is going to be the moment of truth. Let's see what it finally looks like.
Okay, so if we line this up, we can try and get that into there. Is that the way to do it?
Yeah, I think so. I'll move this out of the way for safety.
So it don't fall over. So I think that one should be in there.
That's in line.
Yeah.
Oh, that still fits. That's good news. Should we put that one on as well?
If you do that...
Yeah, that still fits.
Hang on a minute. I can't find my holes there. Oops, there they go. I had them. Yay.
That's it. That still works.
So there we have it.
I have one nose here that you might notice is almost as large as my own. And that still fits.
Not going to fall off.
No, should be okay.
Then hopefully
So
I
we
can
hear a clunk.
remember the right way round to do this. So if that one should fit nicely in there. Ooh,
Okay,
close.
I've got that.
And then I'll remember to put this the right way round.
I would. That'll make a change.
It does make a change. And that should slot into two little holes I prepared earlier.
There we go.
So
And that is about
Should be it.
how it's going to look. Here's the tail that, as John spent so many painstaking hours turning the tail and nose cone from solid, we thought we'd better put our names on it there. As so. So that's our little bit.
Yes. And of course all the dignitaries sign at the front end and the Strat team get onto the arse end.
Cat! Whose idea was this?
Well, it was initially thrown at us, I think, by a net, wasn't it, John?
It was a net, yes.
But the intention initially was, bearing in mind the tube is cardboard, it was going to be lashed together out of bits of paper and cardboard and sort of, I suppose, end up in the recycling bin at the end of the week. But being the Strat team and having our name on it, we don't usually do things by half, so we decided to do them a proper version instead, which I think they were pretty pleased about in the end.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That is fine. In fact, they actually do balance quite well. Then you've got this very bold red and blue. In here, both of them are pretty full and...
Crowded.
Yeah, crowded. Yeah.
There's some interesting pictures on the theme of Concorde.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure what that one is.
Let's have a look at that one.
Horse's head.
Is it like a
Yeah,
horse, is there?
we've got a bus somewhere as well, haven't we?
Oh, there's a very nice.
We did
Yeah,
acquire
I
a
think.
bus.
Yeah.
There it
There's
is,
a
yeah.
very nice bus somewhere as
Yeah.
well as that one. But, yes.
Yeah, we do have some strange interpretations of Concorde. We seem to have propellers, I think, on this Concorde. Am I interpreting that correctly? Propellers?
I'm not sure. Unless
That's how I read
that's
it.
the head or that's the end of something. I don't know. Who
I'm
knows?
Not sure. I'm not sure.
Not easy to tell.
So, but there were some really super illustrations.
I think a lot of them take the theme of the nose, as it were. Which, obviously is a known feature.
Got this picture there. This is a nice one.
Yeah. Well, there was one who'd done a very nice. That one, yes.
That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's fabulous,
that was
isn't
the
it?
one that really caught my eye.
They looked it up on their phone, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that one really caught my eye. I
Yeah.
thought that was superb.
Well, that's why I wanted it right.
And there's another, I don't know where it's gone now, there was another, I think it might be this one, I thought was a very, very
Excellent.
good picture of
excellent
Concorde.
drawing, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I rather like this one.
Yes. And then there's a submarine.
Oh, did I lose one? Oh, yeah.
Don't worry. I think it's a submarine.
Actually, no, I haven't hidden it. It actually did only go that far. Yes,
Right.
Concorde seems to be morphing into a stingray. Yeah, this is quite nice at the end as well.
Yes. I'm not sure how they sort of remember the tail in that sense, or whether they were obviously striking when you see the tail out there.
Oh, Penny the cat.
Oh, the paper Concorde activity. I had put the correct colours on the paper one that they were making when they were blowing them with the straw.
Right.
And we've got Delta Golf's ID there. Yeah, really lovely. Goodness, it is going to look so good when it's actually put up on display, isn't it?
We hope so.
Oh, what a team project, eh?
What do you reckon, John? Wings on first, or...?
I think should be wings on first, yes. And we,
So, shall I go and leave?
sorry, let's leave it like that.
So, before we glue all the component parts together, Annette, are you happy with the end product?
Oh my goodness, I am thrilled with this. When I think back to the beginning, where we had this idea from Alex, just like, okay, can we have a model of Concorde? And my first thoughts were, I think we need to get a professional sculptor in to do this because it's a big job.
And we didn't have a lot of time now, did we?
Didn't have a lot of time.
Did I tell you we didn't have a lot of time?
Oh, hang on a minute.
I think I might have
Was
once or
there not
twice.
very much time? And what you did to make this model scaled, all because of the diameter of that fuselage, is extraordinary. And all this work that the families have done, and I genuinely didn't see it looking as good as this in my head.
Brilliant.
Absolutely didn't. I mean, all the variety of the different age groups, you know, from very young ones, little scribbly pictures, to some really quite lovely drawings of Concorde on here, and some messages. This and how it's looking now, just even before you actually do the final gluing, is wonderful. I hope that all the families that contributed to this will actually come and look at it, or they'll see it on social media, find theirs. A lot of families, I encourage them to photograph their little message, and to actually, then when they're going to look for it, do you remember school photographs? When the whole school was photographed and you try and find yourself? That's what I want the families. Yeah, I don't know how you feel. I feel this has been a real privilege to work on this, actually.
Likewise, it always is.
Yeah, and something that's proper lasting.
Yes, and no more late nights now putting it together.
No more late nights for you or me. No, that's right. So, yeah, we're there. And I do actually have lots of messages left over, which will become bunting.
Oh, you did mention that,
I would like them to be bunting around wherever this wonderful, wonderful model gets displayed. So there we are. What's our next project?
Can we have a week or two off first? John and I finished gluing the wings, nose, tail, gluing the whole assembly together yesterday, and my colleague Terry and myself have managed to get it up the stairs without incident, so obviously we've done something right, which we're very pleased about. And now it's just a case of anywhere there's any little bare bits, here for example, we're just going to brush in with a bit of white, spray it with a fixative, and then it's ready to go on display. So here we have the final finished version of our baby Concorde Delta Golf for its 50th anniversary.